If you keep trying and failing to lose weight, but you know that it's your mindset that continues to let you down, then in this video, I'm going to explain to you 3 key mindset shifts that you can make from today that are going to help you get into the right headspace to not only be able to lose weight, but to actually be able to keep it off long term too. Hi, my name's Clara and I'm a chartered psychologist, a healthcare professions council registered sport and exercise psychologist, and a fitness coach. And I've spent over half a decade working in the fitness industry, helping people just like you overcome the mindset barriers that are getting in the way of them being able to engage with intentional weight loss, and of course, taking the steps necessary to be able to do that from a training and an eating perspective in order to be able to maintain that weight loss over time. And of all the mindset changes that someone needs to make in order to be able to move towards intentional weight loss, there are 3 key shifts that I teach every single one of my clients that work with me when they want to move towards intentional weight loss. Now, you might be expecting those things to be things like discipline, self-control, having more willpower, wanting it more, because you're used to seeing people in the fitness industry tell you those things. But I'm also a psychologist, so I'm not going to insult you by pretending that you don't want weight loss bad enough. I know how hard you've been working for I don't even know how many years to try to get yourself into the right headspace, and I know that the things that are getting in the way for you go far deeper than just mere willpower or discipline or that kind of bullshit. So let's get into it. What are the 3 shifts that you can make today that are going to actually help you change your mindset and actually start being able to move towards intentionally losing weight? Number 1, the first thing that you need to do is stop seeing weight loss as a punishment or as an obligation. This is going to ruin your motivation, and it's not just me saying this from lived experience. There is so much evidence that suggests and that tells us that when we feel like we have to do something, or when we do something because we are going to punish ourselves as a consequence, or we're doing that thing as a punishment, then our motivation very steadily declines, and it's very, very, very difficult to pick it up again. Now, when it comes to intentional weight loss, it is something that's going to require us to be motivated, but what we want to be is intrinsically motivated as opposed to externally motivated. The problem with seeing weight loss as a punishment or as an obligation is that the type of motivation that it elicits, the quality of the motivation that it elicits, is incredibly unhelpful. It's very derogatory. It very much breeds a lot of self-criticism. And again, what we know from a lot of research within self-criticism is that when we try to pursue something from that perspective, we're more likely to set more rigid goals, we're more likely to expect higher standards of ourselves, and in the absence of being able to meet those standards, we're much more likely to then, self-combust, self-destruct, and punish ourselves even further, which inevitably, when it comes to intentional weight loss, moves us further and further and further away from that goal. So for example, I've had many clients who've come to me wanting to lose weight because they feel disgusted at themselves, right? They feel like they have to push themselves to lose weight because they are so disgusting and they've let themselves go to such a point that it is now something that they must do. They just can't wait to get rid of that weight. One of the first things that we need to start doing is changing the way that they're thinking about weight loss as seeing something that they get to honor for themselves, something that is maybe aligned to their values, something that is actually going to be relevant and add meaning and fulfillment to their lives, because otherwise there is absolutely no chance in hell that they're actually going to be able to stick to the change that they need to make long term. And you probably know this from your lived experience too, because how many times have you told yourself that you have to lose weight, or you've punished yourself by trying to lose weight because you feel so disgusted and it's not lasted? Because if it had lasted, you wouldn't be watching this video. So we know it doesn't work, and that has to change. Number 2, and the second thing that you have to do, which is super linked to the first one, is that you have to stop trying to hate yourself lean. It doesn't work. To reiterate the first point, we know that when we hate ourselves, we're far more likely to set much more rigid goals and much more perfectionistic goals. Again, in this case, because when we set perfectionistic goals, what we're imagining is us in the future being a version of ourselves that is super far away and super far removed from who we are right now, because we dislike ourselves so much so. However, in setting those very high standard perfectionistic goals that are super far removed from where we are, we essentially fail to meet ourselves where we're at. And inevitably what that means is that we are going to fail to meet those high expectations, fail to meet those goals. And in failing to meet those goals, all that self-hatred that we were trying to escape from the beginning is going to come back up, and it's going to come back tenfold in terms of its strength. And in the presence of that, in that presence of that shame, of that self-hatred, that is when we're much more likely to end up pressing the fuck it button. Because when we press the fuck it button, when we binge eat, when we decide to go to the gym, in the moment, what we're doing is we're avoiding encountering feelings of failure. But of course, over time, we end up feeling 1,000 times worse, because not only did we feel like shit to begin with, but now we've been through a whole cycle of binging, avoiding the gym for I don't even know how long. And now we're resuming those goals with that feeling of not being good enough, being like 1,000 times louder, which again keeps the cycle going, because it makes us more likely to want to set even bigger stretch goals, even more perfectionistic, high standard goals, because we feel 10 times worse about ourselves. So again, it's a very, very paradoxical self-fulfilling prophecy that all stems from this attempt to try to hate ourselves lean. It's never going to work. And I know you're watching this thinking, oh, but like, I hate the way that I look right now. Like, I will like myself when I am lean. You fucking won't. You will not. You can look back at pictures when you're probably 10, 15, 20 kilos lighter than you are right now. And I would bet money that you will look at those pictures and remember how at the time you thought you were fat and you thought you were disgusting. It is unrelated to what you weigh. You do not need to wait until you've lost weight in order to start cultivating a feeling of self-compassion and a feeling of actually trying to like yourself, or at least build your self-esteem, or make an attempt at building your self-esteem. So I'm telling you, if you don't do that, any weight loss attempts that you make are not going to stick. Which brings me on to the third point, which is to say that if you continue to bypass working on your self-esteem, and if you continue to promise yourself that you will feel good about yourself when you've lost the weight, again, you're not going to be able to stick to any of this, because nobody who genuinely likes themselves spends their time binge eating, spends their time avoiding doing things that are actually going to benefit them long term. It is essential to be able to like yourself, respect yourself at the very least, or have an inclination of caring for your well-being, to be able to engage in the behaviors and the activities that are going to actually elicit weight loss over time. So bypassing or attempting to bypass working on your self-esteem and on your self-worth, or postponing it for when you've actually achieved that weight loss, is not going to work, because you need to be able to at least care for your well-being and respect yourself enough right now to be able to do the things that are going to move you towards intentional weight loss. And I know that it's hard to believe that actually working on your self-worth before you lose weight, or that working on like not trying to hate yourself lean at the beginning of the process, I know it's hard to believe that that is actually going to help you lose weight. You're probably thinking like, how on earth is that even going to help me lose weight? How could building my self-esteem and my self-worth before I even start on my weight loss journey help me? I feel disgusting now. Like, I need to lose weight. I know that I will feel better when I do. And I'm not denying that your self-esteem might not improve when you lose weight, but you've done that before and it didn't work then. So that tells me that unless you develop these skills now, those cycles are going to repeat themselves. And again, you're not going to be able to move towards intentional weight loss and its maintenance when you hate yourself, when you're doing it from a place of punishment, and when you're bypassing that self-respect that is necessary, that care for your well-being that is necessary to do these things long term. Because weight loss isn't just something that you do and then you get to forget about. It requires an ongoing cultivation of these habits, and these habits come from a complete and utter mindset shift, and that mindset shift is rooted in self-compassion. And it's not sexy, and I know that, and you're probably thinking, self-compassion, disgusting, I want discipline, I want self-hatred. So look, humor me through this. How about you go to the link in the description and you download my 4-week fat loss mindset reset. It's a 4-week program that is going to take you through fundamental steps to actually build your self-esteem from the ground up, so you get yourself into the right headspace to be able to commit to long-term weight loss. It's completely free, and I want you to go away and give it a go, and then come back to me in 4 weeks time and tell me if it worked. The worst thing that will happen is that you feel better about yourself and your weight is maintained. The best thing that could happen is that you feel better about yourself and you're able to start committing to taking steps towards caring for yourself, which will over time lead to intentional weight loss. Because I'll say this once and I'll say it again, nobody who likes themselves binges. Nobody who likes themselves and respects themselves and wants to take care of themselves continues to go to the gym all of the time when they know that they should be going. Nobody who has an ounce of self-care, of self-worth, continues to put off goals that are genuinely important to them right now, goals that are genuinely going to make their life better, goals that are genuinely linked to their life values. Nobody who has a high amount of self-worth and a high self-esteem does that. So why do you think that you're any different when I am literally telling you as a psychologist one-on-one right now that it doesn't work? So straight away, go to the link in the description, download the 4-week fat loss mindset reset, start building your self-esteem from the ground up. Come back to me in 4 weeks time and let me know how you get on. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you did like the video, make sure to give it a like, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future videos.